Yes, it is 9 o'clock on Monday, August the 8th, 2016, and I call Ottawa County Commissioners Court to order. Today we have Kurt Palmer, Hope Street Methodist, who's going to do our invocation, so please stand and please stand to the pledge.
Let's bow together. With the dawn of a new day, O God, comes the challenges that we put to rest last night. We dust them off and we greet them again this day. But also comes with the dawn of a new day the promise that you were always with us to strengthen us, so as this council and those who represent the leadership of this county struggle with balancing all of the needs. Give them a spirit of discernment. May times of challenge birth creativity. May struggles open their eyes to opportunities. We give you thanks for all those who provide the environment in which we call this community in which we live, and ask for your blessings upon them as they continue to serve. We pray these things in your mighty and powerful name. And all of God's people would say, Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, sir. Okay, first on the agenda is the recognition of minutes from the July 25th, 2016 Ottawa County Commission Court meeting. Any corrections or discussion on that? If not, so recognized. Number 2 is budget amendments to consider and act upon approving budget amendments for the 2015-2016 fiscal year. We have several today. I do have a question about one of them, number 3, Constable Precinct 2. So she went on a trip and didn't have the money. So how do we fix that? We haven't done that, okay.
So what was, that was a scheduled, I guess it was, was it just a
Well, a lot of times, I guess people use their procurement card to get their registration, their airfare, whatever, and then they realize, oh, I didn't have any money. So I guess there should be a checks and balancing sort where they need to check and make sure they have money first before they go on a trip.
And that is what the procurement policy says.
Yeah.
They want to verify.
Okay. Okay, so, she owes the county how much then, 1,000?
I believe it was 800, I have to look to June 30th.
There was 350 on the procurement and then 205 for expenses.
Okay, so less than 600.
Oh no, why is the 1,000?
That's what she asked for.
She came in and actually called the Ginger and asked.
So Ginger was just an oversight on her part?
I don't know, when she came in there, she told me that the constable for it had told her just to come in and get a budget amendment and take it to court, so they can take it to court.
Well, I have heard of this prior to Commissioner's Court. We tried to reach out to her to see if she would be in attendance. I don't mind passing this until we have heard if that's allowed. Hearing that there's no urgency that this get taken care of immediately, is it?
No, it's just that there is a reimbursement check to her on the vouchers that I'll hold.
We can hold. I'm support that.
Okay, that's fine. Is there any other questions on this?
I did ask her to come in and I did say you might come in and represent yourself whenever this comes, and she said that she would.
Okay, maybe she'll be here in a minute.
Okay.
Okay, so is any other questions on the amendments? Okay, so I need a motion.
I I make a motion that we approve the budget amendments as presented and pass item 3, request by Constable 2 for travel expenses.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you. Vouchers, to consider and act upon the approval of the payment of vouchers processed by the county auditor's office for the period of July 20, 2016 through August 3rd, 2016. Check numbers 169914 through 170136 and wire transfers 756 through 762 in the amount of $2,483,245.05.
I move we approve the vouchers as presented.
Second for discussion. I have one question for the court, and it is page 26 of 35 in the wire transfers. 761 towards the bottom, Cary Academy Sports. And it looks like awning and chairs for the district attorney's office. Can you help me understand why we would be purchasing those?
This is actually for the auto theft unit, so it's grant funds, but this is for the community prevention when they go to, when they finish and such.
Okay, and this is reimbursed through the grant funds?
It is, yes.
Pretty cheap awning and chairs, only $119. Quite the bargain shop. Okay, is there any other questions? Have a motion and a second, all in favor, raise your right hand. 5-0, thank you very much. Insurance report, okay, if you wanna just come on up, because you have the next 3 items, so. Good morning. On the, insurance fund report, I think that's first on the agenda. The only thing that's at all out of the ordinary on that report, you'll see the 2015 PCORI reimbursement from TAC. TAC, the past 2 years, and for this up and coming year as well, has agreed to pick up the PCORI fees for Potter County. And this reimbursement is just where we paid our PCORI fee on time and then sent them notification and they reimburse that fee.
What does PCORI stand for?
Patient-centered outcomes reimbursement.
Okay.
Investment, I think is the I, but
Sounds
it's
like
a fish.
Okay.
But that's one of the healthcare reform fees that are required each year. Texas Association of Counties is picking that up, but for this particular fee, we have to file it ourselves on the appropriate IRS form, and then they reimburse it. Any other questions on that? So recognized for the record, let me go ahead and read the next one. Sorry. Number 5, group insurance funding, to consider and act upon a recommendation of the Insurance Advisory Committee to set group insurance funding levels for FY 16-17 to include authority of county judge to sign necessary documents.
Okay. I'll just walk through with you what the Insurance Advisory Committee discussed in our meeting. We did meet on August the 1st. And we reviewed the group insurance plan and specifically talked about funding options. All members were present at that particular meeting. The health insurance renewal, of course, represents the largest slice of our overall group insurance renewal. And the 16-17 group health insurance renewal brought no increase in administration fees. However, there were increases in reinsurance rates in the amount of 7.9%. Expected funding for claims for the up and coming year also increased in composite by about 7.5%. And it all resulted in a suggested funding increase of about 6.9% over last year, and that's based on our current enrollment. What we do is take what the required funding is for this year, for the 16-17 year, and then we apply last year's county paid premium, if you will, and employee paid premium, along with our new enrollment numbers for this year to determine how much additional funding we need to come up with, and how our funding needs to be increased. And it resulted in $336,410 in increased funding. And it comes to about 6.9% based on our current funding. It was noted during that meeting that while medical claims only increased 4.5%, prescription drug claims increased by 19.5%. Overall, it was a significant increase in the prescription costs. Consequently, with this year's renewal, TAC is implementing 2 changes in our prescription drug benefit in order to contain those costs, or attempt to contain those costs. The first is in the 90-day supply of maintenance medication. We already have a mail order benefit in place where employees or participants can get a 90-day supply of maintenance medication for 2 copays. Saves them a third of the drug cost right off the top. Currently, the outlets for those 90-day supplies of maintenance medication are restricted to Caremark mail order or CVS as a local outlet. This year, TAC has added Target to that mix. Rather than just encouraging employees and participants to utilize that 90-day benefit, beginning October 1, maintenance medications should be prescribed and obtained in the 90-day refills at one of those 3 outlets, the 2 locals, Target or CVS, or the Caremark mail order. Employees do still have a choice. They don't have to use those outlets or the 90-day, but if they choose not to do that, beginning with the 2nd refill, those employees would be responsible for 1.5 times the copay. That's because our best discounts come from those outlets. That's where the plan can receive the best cost for drugs. And employees, in turn, have that same savings passed off in the way of 1/3 of their drug costs cut off if they choose to use that, so they get a significant discount as well. This year, another change is in the specialty drug area. Specialty drugs have increased in cost dramatically. And beginning October 1, Texas Association of Counties is expanding their specialty drug formulary to include 15 different categories or families of specialty medication. And beginning on October 1st, newly prescribed specialty medications will either have to be on that new formulary. If they're not on the formulary, however, there is an opportunity to work through an exception process. In other words, there's an outlet if there's a true need there for some specialty med that's not on that formulary. It's just that it will require the physician to work through some steps to ensure that the most cost-effective drug or drug protocol is being used to meet the outcome desires. So there's just a bit of a process to make sure that they've tried the least or lesser expensive medications. But if those other medications haven't worked, then they can certainly obtain a specialty medication through walking through that process. So it doesn't eliminate those medications. It just adds a layer of process, if you will. Also in your packet, you would have received the summary of all the different funding options. There were 4 different approaches to the funding that we looked at in the Insurance Advisory Committee. The first funding approach was that all of the increase be picked up by the county. And so you would see under approach 1 what that would look like. We also looked at what if all of the cost of the increase were picked up by the employee and what that increase would look like to the employee. One thing I want to bring to your attention under approach number 1, where it indicates that all the cost increase would be picked up by the county, you'll notice that there are 2 different options under that approach. And I just wanted to bring to your attention that in Roman numeral number 3, under approach 1, that just takes the full premium amount and adds it to the county's current process for funding the premiums. Healthcare reform has brought with it 1 more tax that we're waiting for. Initially, it was to become effective in 2018. It's commonly called the Cadillac tax. It's an excise tax that amounts to 40% of overall cost. The Cadillac tax looks at the threshold of total cost to the plan or for the plan that includes both the county paid premiums and the employee paid premiums. The Cadillac tax sets a threshold for employee only cost for both portions of that and employee family cost for both portions of that. Initially, we were given some specific rates because the tax was slated to become effective in 2018, and it was based on inflation and that kind of thing for 2018. But we've recently been made aware that the Cadillac tax is being pushed back to 2020. But I wanted to bring to your attention that if we use the same thresholds for the 2018 numbers that we were initially given for the Cadillac tax, our employee-only rates for option 1 are getting very close to those thresholds. The total contribution for employee-only of both the county and the employee contribution is $841 a month. The Cadillac tax threshold, as it was originally given to us, is $850 a month. So we're just slightly below that threshold. On the other end of the spectrum, the employee family rates would be set at $1,124 for our plan, and that threshold is $2,291 per month. So we have significantly more room on the employee family or dependent end of the spectrum than we have on the employee only end of the spectrum. And we talked about that in the Insurance Advisory Committee. The, second bullet point, Roman numeral 3A, shows, is just an example of if we passed some of the, county paid premium to cover the dependent portion of the health insurance premium, and that would just shift some of that, total contribution down to the, employee family end. It's not something that the Insurance Advisory Committee voted this year to, move towards and implement, but it is something that we want to take into consideration as we move closer to 2020 as a way that we might, shift our premiums a bit to, make sure that we avoid that Cadillac tax. And the good news is that it's been delayed until 2020, so we have a few more years before we have to look at it.
Okay, can I ask a question along those lines? So for the Cadillac tax, if we do reach the threshold or are over the threshold, what does that then mean? The tax certainly would be implemented,
Right.
but what is it based off of, and what would a tax like that look like?
It's a 40% excise tax based on cost to the plan, and it's total cost to the plan.
And it goes where? Back to the federal government?
Yes. To the IRS. It would be filed through an excise tax, which, by the way, is the same place where we pay the PCORI fee. The PCORI fee is paid as an excise tax, which is odd to me, but that's how it's set up through the IRS.
So have you heard through any of your TAC discussions, since we're under the group, the TAC umbrella, that any counties are preliminary starting to hit that and starting to look at that?
No, they, as far as I know, all of the communications have indicated that everyone is okay for now. Of course, everybody is looking at it on the horizon and beginning to consider and think about ways that can be avoided. Just as we brought this to the Insurance Advisory Committee, just so everyone is aware that we may want to look at that shifting in the future to avoid that. We did have quite a lot of room on the dependent end of the spectrum before we would have to worry about the Cadillac tax.
And when you say shifting, you mean shifting within our cost sharing of our plan design, the employee versus children versus family, reallocation of that?
More the reallocation of the county pay contribution, where now all of the county paid contribution is considered part of the employee-only premium.
Okay.
In the future, we may want to separate some of that out and designate it as part of the dependent premium. In other words, so much towards employee only plus an additional, $10, $30, whatever, to go towards the dependent part. And that would increase that total contribution on the dependent end of the spectrum.
County contribution, when you say increase the contribution?
Yes, but you notice though that the county contribution on the employee only portion went down. So it would be a balance there.
Okay.
So that's just something that I wanted to make sure is on the county's radar, because there will be more discussions in the future about the Cadillac tax.
Any thoughts on why they moved it to another presidential election year?
Your guess is as good as mine.
You might have some inside information.
No, I don't have any specific information on that. I can just say that pretty much, I'll say most aspects of healthcare reform have been a moving target. They set a date and an amount and move it. It's very hard to follow. It's been a moving target, and this is just the last leg of the taxes. in the implementation of healthcare reform.
Hey, let me ask you a question, and I hate to sound so stupid, I can't help it. Caremark, is that just a large company that does only mail order, or what is it exactly?
Caremark is a PBM prescription drug
So-
company. They're very large.
So
PBM.
do other pharmacies fall under them, such as CVS, Target, or no?
No, they're,
So can you give me an example of a Caremark subsidiary?
it's CVS Caremark and Caremark. I mean, they are a pharmacy benefits management company. They're a very large company. I couldn't give you the exact numbers, but a very large number of healthcare plans utilize Caremark as their PBM.
Okay.
And we do get some really good discounts and drug rebates through Caremark. On through the different options that were discussed, we looked at approach number 2 was all of the cost increase paid by the employees. And when you look at those examples, in each situation, you see the county contribution, the employee contribution, and then off to the, and total contribution for that premium. And then off to the right of the box in the smaller numbers, that is a monthly increase to the employee. If the cost is shipped off to the county, that cost is shown on the left-hand side under the Roman numeral, shows the increase to the county. So approach number 2, since all the cost increase is paid by the employees, you'll notice that there's no increase shown to the left under the Roman numeral because it doesn't represent any cost to, any additional cost to the county. But off to the right, you see in small numbers that monthly increase for employees. Then at the very far right,
Which is a substantial jump for an employee.
yes, that would represent a significant increase to employees.
So like an employee greater than 1 child, $104 per month,
That, right,
potential increase on that
for that
approach.
option, right.
Okay.
And then, off to the very far right, in small numbers, you see a $610. Does everybody see that figure? That represents how much excess in funding over the target funding that particular option would generate. So in that case, it would be, that particular option would generate an excess of $610, which is very, very close to that target funding. Approach number 3 shows the county picking up half of the increase and the employee picking up half of the increase. Now, this first option under approach 3 shows a pure 50-50 split in necessary premium increase. So you'll see that there's a $31 increase to the county. That's under Roman numeral 5. And then the increases to the employee would range from $12 per month for employee only to $51 per month for employee family. And it would generate $3,216 in excess funding. And then there's one final approach to sharing that increase between the county and the employee, and that's listed under Roman numeral 6. And this shows a percentage of the premium split evenly between the employee and the county. And that makes for a 6.9% increase to both. And it's based strictly off of premium dollars. You'll see that the county would experience a $50 increase, and you can see that county contribution there. Employees would receive a straight 6.9% increase on their premiums, based on each individual premium level. And those increases range from $5 for employee only to $24 for employee and family. For that, percentage split, straight 6.9%. But you'll notice over there that actually generates $10,478 in excess. So that's a pretty good excess. So what I did then is go back and say, okay, we could save $1 per employee per month to either side of that equation and narrow that excess down. And that's what the two final examples show. The first is if we whittled the county increase down by $1 per employee per month, causing a $49 per employee per month increase to the county, and the same employee increase ranging from $5 to $24 per month to the employee. The final example that you see is actually the example that the Insurance Advisory Committee voted as their recommendation to the Commissioners Court. This is an equal 6.9% increase between the county and the employee, and that one extra dollar was coming from the employee premiums. So the county then would go back to a $50 increase per employee per month with a county contribution of $763. The employee increases would range from $4 per month for employee only to $23 per month for employee and family coverage. And it results in a $4,934 surplus of the target funding that's required to fund our health insurance plan for the 16-17 year. Do you have any questions on this funding sample?
The only question I have, Carrie, as it relates to the surplus, does that roll into the insurance fund balance? Is that what it rolls into each year? Okay. It is 4,000, comparable to what we've been experiencing every year, roughly 5. Is that above, below what we traditionally like to?
As far as premium budget?
Yes.
Yes, it's very close.
Very close. I think this is very fair, Kate. One of the things I was thinking, Judge, this would be great to have as a screenshot in the newsletter that we send out every month, because what's not included in our budget is a cost of living increase for our employees. So I think the message to employees going out might be, we're not getting an increase this year. So I think this piece of cost sharing definitely helps that conversation.
Yes. And the lion's share of the increase per employee certainly falls back on the county. It's a significant benefit to employees if this court votes to accept that recommendation and approve the recommendation.
So there's been an increase also in dental and vision.
Yes, and life and vision were flat. There was a rate guarantee for both life and vision. We're in a rate guarantee for life until 2018 and through the end of 2017 plan year on the vision. So there were no increases there. MetLife also has our dental plan, and they did increase 7% on the dental renewal, which is wholly paid by the employee. Those rate increases range from $2.97 per month for employee only to $5.62 per month for family coverage. And that brings us to the end of our core group insurance benefits. Our core group insurance benefits consist of our health, dental, life, and vision plan. Now, the, life and vision plans will, require a $12 a month funding. That's the same as it was last year. It's $12 per employee per month, funding on that, and again, it remained flat. We were notified, the 26th of July, just right before the Insurance Advisory Committee meeting, that because of our claims experience through Humana Baybridge, our supplemental cancer provider, our claims have been up by about 160%. The last couple of years with Humana Baybridge, they have not increased premiums in several years. We actually got a rate decrease 2 years ago with them. But over the last couple of years, claims are up by about 160%, so they offered us 2 options beginning October 1. The first option would be to increase premium by 140% in order to offset those significant claims. The other option was to implement a plan design change that would result in only the reduction of radiation and chemotherapy benefits from $10,000 per month to $4,000 per month with no lifetime limit. So that's a benefit that renews every month. That $4,000 a month is still a very strong benefit for the cancer plan, and across the marketplace is a good, strong benefit. There was much discussion on this during the Insurance Advisory Committee meeting, but it was voted on unanimously by the committee to opt for the change in plan design to reduce the radiation and chemotherapy benefits from $10,000 to $4,000 per month. Part of that rationale was because that 160%, I said that wrong, 140% of the premium increase, that 140% premium increase would render that those premiums unaffordable by our folks. And so rather than make them unaffordable, the committee voted unanimously to recommend the structure plan design change. That plan design change does come with a 3-year rate guarantee from Humana Baybridge.
Okay, I have a question along that plan design. Is there any flexibility that allows an employee to opt in? Like, I often see employers with 2 plan designs, and I'll explain it like a high deductible plan versus a low deductible plan. Because I think about employees that may be receiving the services today and coming down from $10,000 to $4,000, and once your benefits run out, essentially you're self-pay after that.
Well, the plan design or premium design for Humana Baybridge does offer some variances that are driven by the employee, and they make those choices when they sign up. They can choose just the cancer plan with a 32 dread disease rider on it, or they can choose the cancer plan and dread disease rider with an ICU rider that's based on $325 a day for the ICU benefit, or they can opt for all of those things plus a $625 a day ICU rider. So there is some option that the employee has in making their selection with Humana Baybridge. Unfortunately, there are no options that let an individual, or at least not to my knowledge, that let an individual choose between which line items on the summary of benefits that they choose to elect. There's a core plan, and then they can add the ICU benefit, or they can add the red disease rider, and there's 2 levels of ICU benefit that they can add. And that premium increase is across the house. It's for every option of premium.
You know, what I've seen in the market is employers offering 2 core plan designs, so I definitely understand the approach of really pick and choose the summary of benefits, certainly from a line item perspective, but I've seen, and this is more on a deductible, high deductible, low deductible coverage versus this level of detail. I just, you know, I think through the employees, if there are any, I don't know if there's any under our plan design currently, receiving these radiation and chemotherapy benefits to go from a 10 to a 4,000 drop, and them not having an option to at least pay more. That's where some of my questions are coming from.
We were not given the option to let the employees decide which way individually. It's the whole group across the board would have one or the other.
And this is 100% paid by employees, this is not funded
Yes.
at all by the county.
Yes.
It's not,
But those premiums, with the increase are very prohibitive. And so, you know, we felt for the employees in general, that this was the best option between the 2.
Thank you.
And it is the recommendation of the insurance advisory committee. Any questions on that? Then the final thing that you see in your memo on the recommendations, and the final thing that we discussed within the insurance advisory committee is that we have been functioning broker or consultant free since 2012, and that's something we've been doing in-house since 2012, and it has worked well, but it has been very time consuming and labor intensive, and has required a great deal, actually majority of my focus, because of the things that we've got going on, both in the health care or health insurance marketplace and within human resources in general, and the needs that the county also has. I requested from the insurance advisory committee to bring a recommendation that we allow purchasing to go out for a quote, or to obtain a quote for a consultant broker for our group employee benefits, and just see what's out there. That would allow us in-house to spend more time doing things that are important for the county, and less time focusing on insurance specifically.
Hey, do you have any suggestion of where those dollars will come from in the budget? I don't know how much this service is.
We went out the last time for full, we went out for a statement of qualifications in 2009, and the respondents came in ranging from 18,000 to 36,000 per year on that. We had at that time Jill Matthews, and she was at 27,600 at that time. So, you know, that might be a low end estimate on that, but I'd like to just see what's out there and what that cost might be.
So if we do go out for bid, where are you suggesting budget wise? That's not in the current budget, at least to my knowledge it's not.
We did have, 28,000 budgeted in contract services and health insurance, in anticipation of this.
It's inclusive in this, and that, okay, yes. Thank you.
Just an area of attack right up your sleeve.
They do not do consultation per se, but they might be able to help with a quote. We, before when we went out, I believe we received 5 strong quotes from across the state, 2 were local and 3 were from other places in the state. So, I believe that there's a market out there.
I think there's a need for this, that I'm going to make a motion that we seek out consultants with insurance.
Let's go back to number 5. We need to make a motion on number 5 first before we do that. Okay? Let's do it. Okay.
I just have one quick question, Judge. Commissioner Kelly, I know you sit on that committee, and as it relates to the option presented for consideration for B, if I'm following correctly on the proposal, what's your opinion on that? I know there's probably a lot of detailed discussion going on for that recommendation.
It was unanimous in the committee.
Okay, so number 5, the group insurance funding increases. I need a motion. Okay.
I'll make a motion that we accept the recommendation for the 2016-2017 employee group insurance benefit plan as recommended.
Second.
Okay, have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand. Of course.
I would like to say that we did look at this pretty carefully, and I think this is a real fair way of sharing the cost. If you look at our total benefits, I think Carrie told us that day that we're right around $9,700, $9,300 per employee that we're offering. And I think that's an unbelievable benefit to our employees. I hope everyone appreciates that. Our total bill is, what we're looking at, is $5,377,000. An awful lot of money for health care. I think we can blame that on a federal mandate.
Okay, so I have a motion. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you.
Thank you to our taxpayers of Potter County that are indeed paying that bill.
And then number 6, Commissioner Kelly, you want to make a recommendation?
Move that we seek out consultants for the insurance.
Okay, and a second.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand. 5-0. Thank you. Okay, Kay, you're still up. Employee compensatory time, to your quarterly report of employee compensatory time and take any action necessary.
Back, some months ago, it was requested that we bring a comp-time report to the commissioner's court. And this is just a regular quarterly report of comp time. On this report, we do show 5 employees over the average or above the $100, which is up from the last quarterly report of employees. And we have answer any questions that you might have about it.
Okay, and you're not including juvenile probation in your count, is that correct? You are or not?
We are.
Okay.
They are on that report.
I may have come up with a few more than 5, but my only question, Kay, because I certainly have quite a few questions on those that are over the 100. So this, in my opinion, obviously puts us at financial risk for the county, because should these employees leave, these are dollars that we then certainly owe to these employees and reimburse them for. So whether they're terminated from the county, they choose to leave the county, so this is where this conversation comes from. So thank you for your diligence in putting this on, because I think it's important. Is there anything is there a more effective way than kind of vetting through employee by employee through commissioner's court? Is there a policy or something that the HR department, you know, reaches out to the director and says, is there a plan of action to get this off? Is this an exception? Something along those lines?
Currently, we don't have a process in place like that. That could be something that we could implement down the road. Please be aware that, in some instances anyway, it would be a recommendation or simply bringing to their attention and pointing it out. With the environment that we have with elected officials and we have an unusual environment where, you know, those elected officials have the right and autonomy to manage their folks, but we can certainly bring it to their attention, and that's one of those things that freedom from the day-to-day insurance requirements could certainly free up some time to be more involved in that process.
Because I know when I recommended that we put this on, so we're elected on the fiscal side and trying to be good stewards, so there's obviously this kind of checks and balance that continues to evolve and happen, but I would love to maybe see something to that effect of reaching out, notification, and maybe a cover sheet of some type. Here's the plan of action of those that are addressed, because the idea behind this is certainly not to call out a director in such a public forum, and definitely not to call out an employee, because there's obviously good reasons why they're over this 100 milestone, and my interest in this particular topic is what's the plan of action to kind of bring that down, because that reduces our risk or fiscal liability. So I would advocate for something like that down the road if certainly time allows. I don't know how the board feels about that.
Yeah, we have to get hold of it. We're just, I don't know. I don't want to call anybody out, but there's gotta be some way we can let these people get some extra time off.
You know, to that end, I just want to mention that from the point in time when we first started looking at this, these balances have come down significantly. So we are making strides with that. And we can certainly look at developing an internal practice within HR to reach out. And just as a reminder or whatever this court chooses that we do.
I think we've spoken to that before. This matter was actually doing it, but as a case reminder, just a friendly reminder in the department that I think we did. Step forward.
From you.
Send an email out to the
Yes.
department head and say, hey, this employee's got to go out to that. Can you please work on it and bring that down? There's something.
We can certainly do that.
Thanks. Thanks for the work. We have to talk about today. Any other questions on the comp time, anything else? Okay. Number 7, Texas Department of Motor Vehicles to consider the position of calendar year 2017 optional county fees, including the proposed additional fee for support of court appointed special advocates. Laura, you want to come up and talk about this? I have talked to Laura about this on Friday, and I've also talked to April Hennings from the bridge. She has totally withdrawn her plea for help on this. And I totally see why. I understand why. And I'm gonna tell you. She had a lot of phone calls, a lot of people. I have a couple myself. People saying that you're actually forcing us to make a donation to a charity that we may or may not approve of. And they are right. They are right. And so I'm not gonna advocate for it. Y'all can if you want, but my vote is no on that.
And if I could.
Of course.
I certainly read all of the Facebook comments. In fact, I read all of them and we checked them and kind of who these people were and kind of really the majority of them do not live in our county. And a lot of them comment on a lot of the things that come through Facebook that are pretty controversial. I think what happened when the media did this story, and I don't think it was intentional, but it gave the perception that this was a donation, that this was a forced donation. A donation is a gift. This is a fee, and a fee is for a service. And this is a fee to enhance child safety. And I wish I could say that I was smart enough to come up with this optional child safety fee within the transportation code, but the way this was set up was to say, hey, we're going to give this option to collect this fee for child safety. And if the school crossing guard program is already funded, or they, it's a small county and they don't need that, then there are other ways that we can enhance child safety. And so that's kind of where those stipulations came from. Some of it is not to even go to a nonprofit. Some of it's for them to put that in a, interest-bearing account. But one of the things that it does specify with this fee is that it can go to certain nonprofits that deal with child abuse prevention, child safety. For the courts, and I started to express this to Judge Tanner, that we never want any negative feedback to come back to you guys or us. We don't like to be the bad guys in anything either. But this has been a decision that over the past 2 years that we have really been talking about within our agency. So it's not a kind of knee-jerk reaction to this. We have talked about this through our board and our financial committee, deciding, is this something that we want to do, that we want to bring forward? It certainly has been out there. There have been opportunities for lots of other people to bring this.
And a lot of other counties have done it.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I think there's close to 60 counties that are using this fee. So I think, what I would say today is that I certainly understand where those individuals are coming from, and I know that you know that in these positions that you are never going to please everybody. You're not. And I think that possibly when we looked at maybe adding the road and bridge fee, I'm not sure when that was put on, but as bizarre as that may sound, there may have been people that said, I do not agree with this. But we drive on those roads and we want our roads to be protected. And so I kind of feel like it's the same way. I don't think it's any different than nonprofits that get fees from probation. Not all people on probation are involved with the bridge or child abuse prevention or whatever that might be. There is a child abuse prevention fund set up through Potter County that receives fees through criminal cases. Not all child abuse cases are criminal. And so I think we could kind of argue that all day long. I stand strong in the convictions that I came to you with 2 weeks ago. The only thing that has changed within my agency is that I now have 8 more children under my jurisdiction.
I'm kind of interested in where the conversation is coming from and some of the topic, the language.
Well, we had people call my office, one in particular, he was retired firefighter, and he doesn't have $1.50. And, if that's true, that's fine, but I don't have a problem at all giving I'll give his $1.50. But people, they just say, you can't make me pay that.
Considering the advocacy for children, and considering where Potter County is, and that level is one of the heightened.
I tried to explain that to him, because I'm a huge advocate for children.
So, and the strides that Consul and Ridge have made, especially on, I really like the idea of that one-on-one interaction that we've been running for quite some time. And these are children. And we're not here to talk about our greatest natural resource, and what are we here for? So I was just curious about some of the language and the conversation we were getting. And I know it's tough times. Tax man raised across the board, and it's tough on us.
Apparently April got some really loss.
I think because she had sent me, and I had already read them through Facebook, but she had sent me those comments, and they weren't all bad. There were some on there that were very positive. I know that I've spoken with quite a few people that I know kind of just tell me what your first initial thoughts are on this. And a lot of them said, okay. Even if you went middle of the road like we talked about,
So I
certainly understand that philosophy, because there are other agencies that could possibly come and say, hey, we're doing this work too. And so that it does give that room. So I certainly understand that. I've racked my brain over the last 2 weeks. I've never quite understood. I guess I could say some of those comments after reading them, I really feel like they don't understand where this fee comes from. One, that I didn't just make this up, and this is a legal thing to ask for. And I don't think they understand what is happening in our community and what these agencies are doing, possibly. I think it's a lot of education.
Lack of education, they don't
I
know.
think you ought to be very careful paying attention to that in Facebook.
Absolutely.
Twitter or
So, Tad, have you talked to the city about this at all, about?
Participate on Facebook.
I haven't heard anything definite since the city.
Have you?
I've made contacts. I know that Tad and I both have reached out to Brian Williams a couple of times. I've spoken with Mr. Childers, and he stated that he wanted to get Paula Hopkins, I believe is her last name, kind of involved in this. And when I spoke with her, I briefed her on everything that happened 2 weeks ago as well. And what she wanted was kind of an official letter from us, and so I did that and gave her the packet that I gave to all of you. And that is in their office. And I know that they have been bogged down with budgets, but that's kind of where we're at.
And where does Randall County stand?
I go to the City of Canyon tonight, R30. I provided them with all this information as well. And then I go back to Randall County tomorrow morning. They did want to table at the last meeting just because they wanted to get some more information. You know, they want to do their due diligence as well. And they kind of wanted to see what the city's thoughts on that were too. And it is kind of weird because we're split between two cities. So I am meeting with them again.
Well, I would still advocate for a draft of an interlocal agreement, and because ultimately we don't want to make these decisions, certainly with so much controversy as it relates to fees. Well over 60 counties, as you mentioned, in the state, but that's really only a little bit over 20% of the counties in Texas that do institute this fee. Where Road and Bridge is probably well over 90%.
Is that the prevailing thought now that we are looking at an interlocal agreement, is that the conversation being generated from the city in respect to that?
I thought we were, so that because the dollars on the tad, keep the dollars actually.
I think the conversation was generated to initiate the conversation with the city to see exactly if that's doable of what their thoughts were.
So have we as a county had that conversation with the city?
Laura has been in touch with the city, and I've got a couple of email reports, which really brought reports. There were reports that were looking
That's
into
the
it.
contact.
Somebody has to be the first one to make a decision on this.
And it really needs to be the city probably, because the city ultimately is the one that decides, the body that decides where these dollars are going to go, whether or not these dollars are any portion of going to go to cost.
Because what could happen, if I'm understanding from a budgetary perspective, we could institute this fee, and the dollars could get passed through the city, and they could have a drop in funding in school crossing guards, if you will. And so they, as a city council, can govern that those dollars go into that school crossing guard fund and never make its way back. And so then we ultimately, as a court, institute a fee for services that we ultimately don't provide under our umbrella. So that's my caution, if you will, that we don't have an unintended consequence that governments are just known for, quite honestly. So I would advocate that someone, whether it's a commissioner, judge, TAD, someone reach out to the city and indeed agree that they're not seeing a drop in funding in school crossing guard, that the money could indeed get there. Maybe I've seen the other end of that quite often.
We have reached out to the city, we just have not gotten a response.
Right?
And I think the trouble we're coming up against is Sherry was gonna, I suspect what to do about the optional registration fees. I don't know what the timeline is on it.
Your microphone closer to there, you go, thank you.
I don't know what the timeline is.
It's this month sometime.
23rd.
I believe it's 23rd.
23rd.
We meet the day before.
The 22nd.
We did.
I'm
So what do y'all wanna do? You wanna wait till y'all talk to the cities that have gotten back to you? You wanna come back?
And I think it would be beneficial if I had somebody of the court. You know, I'm definitely doing my part, but I think sometimes when it's somebody that they know that, hey, we need this, we have a deadline, that might be beneficial.
I have no problem with that. The court.
The court.
I'll volunteer.
Do you want to volunteer? You want to volunteer? Okay. Good, okay. All right.
Table it again.
So we want to table that one more time. We have until the 23rd to do it, so 22nd is when we meet again. I guess we can do that one more time. Thank you.
I'll be back.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is that when we'll do the road
Yes,
fee as well?
yes.
It'd be easier to do both of them at the same time.
Yeah.
And I will say this, that Department of Motor Vehicle is looking at changing the fee structure as well. The motorists are probably gonna see a bit of an increase anyway. Fee wise.
Okay.
January 1, because they're restructuring the fees that we're going to be collecting as well.
Did you want to talk? Did you want to say something? Okay, come on up.
Sherry, can we get any, even if it's estimate, are there any dollars already out there what the motor vehicle increase might look like?
They're proposing a processing handling fee of $5, which there's already a $1 automation fee and already a $1 mail fee that they're going to be taking out, so I'm thinking maybe it's like a $3 increase. Really don't know what that's gonna look like yet.
Okay.
I think we have a citizen who wanted to come and please give us your name and your address.
My name is Janet Cates, and I live at 200 Partridge Drive in Harlem. And, first, I want to preface it with CASA is a worthy organization. And are worthy of support from all the community members, be it volunteer, monetarily. You know, we even have our,
It's okay, don't worry about it.
We even have our, United Way donation that is passed on there. I don't think the imposition of $1.50 fee is fair to the taxpayers. I just, you know, I don't. It's a tax, you know. I noticed on our last registration, form we got in the mail, there are optional fees that you can choose to donate to. I wouldn't be opposed to something like that, but as far as a required fee, I am opposed to that. All right.
Thank you, Jenna, I appreciate you coming out.
Well, that's an interesting point too, Judge. I never thought, and I don't know if this code, via the tax code, if it allows an individual to opt in, and I'm equating it mentally to like your jury summons, that you can opt in to
Or you
send
want
your
money to go.
money to go or kind of cut me the check. Does this part in the tax code allow an individual to opt in to that code? Like we could set the amount, but they could either choose to approve or disallow. I don't know that. That's an interesting point.
Well, this is in a transportation code, and I don't read it as providing for that. And again, if the tax, which is not a tax, is imposed, then it really flows to the city.
But it would be Sherry's office collecting it. So I'm envisioning, I'm going to go to my motor registration fee and I get my little form and I have your wonderful employees saying, Mercy, the commissioners have allowed this fee. Would you like to approve it, yes or no? Like, is that flexibility allowed? No.
It'll be like a $10 fee.
Yeah.
So we automatically have it.
Okay. But I think that's a good suggestion.
How much trouble would it be to have an option? A lot of trouble.
So you have to go legislature.
Oh, legislature, oh, yeah.
But I think that's that's a really good comment and a different way to maybe approach it too. So definitely maybe something to advocate, to enhance what that code was intended to do and ultimately give people a decision, which is what they're after. That's a really good point, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Jen, appreciate it. Okay, number 9, elections. To order the election for the November general election. B, to appoint election officials, rate of pay, maximum number of clerks and polling places for vote center for 2 year period. Use the page to appoint election officials, establish hours of operation, and establish the outstanding clerks for early voting, to appoint the officers for Central Counting Station, and to approve an access agreement for mobile voting in Kansas. Good morning.
I have a few things.
You have a few things.
And I guess we'll just take them in order.
Yes.
First one is the order for the election, and you have that paper in front of you. It includes the early voting locations. One thing which we'll notice on there is we are no longer at Government Stop. We will be at Casey Park, which is by Tascosa High School. The other thing that is on there is mobile voting. To serve our community, one thing we did with this is we shortened it. Instead of having that we would be out there 8 days, we're out there 4, but we lengthened the hours, noon to 7, so we have consistency in our hours with our branches.
You know, last year we made a kind of an emergency call, sent a mobile voting, Station 2, usury roll.
Yes.
Are we not?
We are not doing that. Instead, we are helping them to get their, assist them with their voter registration and their ballots by mail. So we've sent them a package and they will contact them to make sure that they're set up into the way.
Well then, I'll continue to dream big, so bear with me.
Dream on.
All right, so on the mobile voting, which I think is a phenomenal thing that we offer to our voters. And I think that's so great that we do that. Do you, and it may not be for this election, but I'm dreaming that we can somehow, I think of our top 10 taxpayer list, Judge Tanner, and I think about those that certainly pay their fiscal dues to this county and our major employers in this city. And when you look at aggressive and progressive ways to increase the turnout, I look at a mobile unit showing up to some of our mobile, or our top 10 taxpayers. I think of that as as a service, if you will. And maybe we're there from 11 to 1 during the lunch hour and really partner with these employers and our taxpayers from a commercial side to say, here's what we're offering you. You certainly pay your dues fiscally, and we're trying to increase the turnout, and we're doing this as a way to be progressive.
Right.
Am I dreaming too big? Could that ever happen?
It could ever happen, but but between now and November, unlikely.
Okay.
At this point, and part of it's a manpower issue.
Sure.
In trying to not wear everyone out.
Sure.
But we've started with this. My second challenge with that is making sure that when we pick an employer that we remain as politically neutral as possible.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the challenges. What we've done with the mobile voting here is we have selected a facility in each of the 4 peaks. And so to move beyond that, we would have to be very cautious in that in order to serve the entire community.
But you've done some very good things, vote centers being one of them, so I
I'm not
stand
saying
firm that it could happen.
there's some challenges.
I mean, I'm mentally kind of jogging through Tyson, I'm jogging through Northwest, BSA, I'm through huge employers in the city, and could you imagine having a Potter County vote ban out there?
Yeah, you could do a food truck and make a vote for you.
Maybe the employers would like to go barbecue. We
I
could
think
go
that I
right
can borrow
in.
the sheriff's mobile command center.
Sure. Oh, Sheriff, we need a favor, Sheriff. Sheriff, it's time.
Get this off. Slide here. I move that the Potter County Commission approve the order for the election, November general election.
Okay, so second? Motion and second, all in favor, raise your hand. Will you sign this one, Laura? Yes.
Like that, I did.
The next one is the order appointing the election officials, rate, pay, maximum number of clerks in public places. And this is for a junior grade. These names were submitted to us by departments and place. This is, I believe, the first time in forever that we actually had a name for every location, because when we were in precincts, we always had some gaps. And so these are the appointments. Of course, it's a 2-year period when someone cannot show up for an election for whatever reasons, health reasons, other obligation. We do emergency appointments, but this would be where we would start with this. So these would be our judges and alternate judges for election day for this election and till August 31st of 2018.
Anybody have any questions on that? Any comment? Back
They
to the
did
line.
a phenomenal job with, Brad.
Will our students be helping?
Yes, students are definitely going to be helping. We have a wonderful relationship with Caprock. Sometimes we go to additional schools. I've already been in contact with the school and they're going to be sending out that particular sheet for the kids to go in and fill their applications, really during the first week of school.
Okay, great. And isn't the Secretary of State coming to visit? Maybe?
That is absolutely true. October the 5th, the Secretary of State is coming to Amarillo. He has a real heart for motivating students, particularly high school seniors, to get registered and become involved in the community. So he will be speaking to the students at Caprock High School. I don't know what else is going to happen for that.
Well, I'd like to say I had all kinds of, no, Lynn actually said this is coming, and I think it's such a great initiative. They have a new principal there, at Caprock, so I think it'll be great. It speaks to the testimony of engaging our youth and thinking out of the box, so.
We need a motion on this.
Yes.
Good.
I move we appoint election officials, rate of pay, maximum number of clerks, and polling places for both cities for a 2-year period. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Okay, the next one is close, similar in some ways to the order, because it's still the early voting locations, but it establishes the hours, as well as the judge and alternate judge maximum number of clerks at the mobile voting sites. Basically, the first week, Santa Fe building will be 8 to 5. Saturday, it's a 12-hour day for the Santa Fe building. Sunday will be noon to 5, and the entire next week will be 7 to 7. The mobile sites, to keep them as consistent as possible, will be noon to 5, Monday through Friday, as well as Saturday and Sunday, but they will stay open until 7 all week in the second week, so that we can reach the voters that work until 5. Mobile voting will be noon to 7.
Do you have something separate for me to? Yeah. Any motion?
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. 5-0. Thank you.
The next one is the order appointing the officers for Central County. We have Bobby Van Dyke as manager, Stephanie Finke as presiding judge, alternate judge Chandra Hill, tabulation supervisor Christy Binge, and tabulation assistant Taylor Calloway.
Make a motion to approve the officers for Central County Station as presented.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. 5-0.
And lastly is an access agreement, and this was given to us by Canyons Retirement Communities. Since the last time we had mobile voting that particular facility has new management and ownership. And so their attorneys would presented us that they are happy for us to come. They didn't stay open late, keep the doors open late until 7 o'clock for us, but they wanted us to sign an access agreement. And so, Tad has looked at this and we removed one thing for it from it, that we could not sign. And here, basically, this agreement says that it's okay with them if we are there on a specific day for the purpose of voting.
It's approved.
Is we ready to go on this? Okay. I need a motion.
When we go out to these businesses and say somebody stumbles and falls, anyone who takes some legal action is liable, are we as the site managers or is the business?
We have immunity.
Unit? Guaranteed.
That's a guarantee.
I make a motion that we approve the access agreement for mobile voting at Canyons Retirement Community.
Motion second, you got it.
But
All in favor?
that same thought, Ted, somebody had to
That's okay. Okay, let's vote. Motion and second, all in favor, raise your hand.
That's a bit of a dip.
We got one on that.
There are a lot of claims that were filed and lawsuits that goes on.
And it's, trends in a lot of countries.
The other thing I might answer, Commissioner, is it kind of depends on what causes the slip and fall. If slip and fall because some condition that exists in that business, then it's that business that will probably be on the hook. The only way we would be liable in this situation is if for property damage, if our motor caused it, or if there was some premises defect, some defect in our sensible personal property that will cause the injury. Otherwise, it's going to be on whoever is supposed to do this.
And one question I didn't have access to Mr. Sanchez.
Okay, Judge Cannon.
Thank you.
Okay, number 10, communications circuit to consider an act upon an agreement with Emma Techtel to provide a back of network circuit to fire station number 3. Funds from existing budget. Ooh, listen to my ears. Yeah.
This is just an addendum to our contract we've already got with Emma Techtel. They provide us a network service for us. We made this to be terminus with the other ones. That contract runs term about this time next year. So we're about 6 months from now, we'll be marketing together.
Okay. Am I the customer on this?
Yes, you are.
Need a motion? And a second, please.
I move that we, agree with, take Temple to provide backup network circuit to fire station 3.
Second.
Okay. Motion and a second, all in favor, raise your hand. Okay, number 11, Howard County Law Enforcement Center project design. You waited long enough for this, haven't you, John? Appreciate
Apologize,
it.
I'm in the grips of allergies, so this is not contagious. Complicated by an abstinence from coffee for about an hour.
Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. We have them in the last one. You know, okay. All right, let me go ahead and read, letter A, modification to consider and act upon a recommendation from the Broward County Phase 3 Advisory Committee to modify the designs for the Broward County Law Enforcement Center project.
Okay, the next 3 items under the agenda were all considered by the Phase 3 Advisory Committee at the last meeting. So the recommendations that are being presented today are coming by way of the Advisory Committee. The first one being to consider modification to the designs for the Law Enforcement Center. The project, the construction document design phase has progressed to the point where we're just nearly complete with that. And as they were, the sheriff and architects were taking one final look at that, they saw an opportunity to make some, if they were to make some changes, to make some benefits as far as the long-term use of that facility goes. Plus, it would allow for something that center really needs, which is some additional parking for employees out there. There will be some cost implications, both by way of cost and savings for the county, by making a change to where the dry storage facility is going to be located at that facility, moving it from its, and I think you'll see a drawing in the packet that will show you where that storage facility would be relocated. What it would essentially do is to move to the southwest side of the facility and allow for the removal of that L-shaped appendage that's on the side of the building that would free up some space for additional parking. The changes would also avoid so many other costs that would have to otherwise be made by accommodating that dry storage facility at the location that is currently in the plan. So what would have to occur here is basically that portion of the project would have to be reassigned to relocate that same building over to the other side of the building. We'll have to do some soil investigation work to see what other accommodations would have to be made for putting that building over in that space. Now, Larry, I think you have some more detailed designs that you'd like for more detail on what this would be.
So Larry, are you gonna be providing the fiscal impact of that change?
Yes.
And where those dollars will come from?
It's actually gonna save us a little bit of money, the sheriff. Isn't that what we, that was the plan?
Is not in a department.
I want to show you what the impact would be, well, describe the scope and then the cost. So the photo you see, the drawing you see in front of you here shows the existing design, which, yeah. On this upper left corner, here's the storage building. This is the existing tunnel. This is code 15 we're going to be taking down. And this is the secure drive that we're putting in for the trucks to come in. This is an enlargement of that area. So you can see the circular drive back into the storage, bringing things in the tunnel. The alternative design that's being proposed is to move the storage building down here. It's pretty much the same building. Move it down by another archive storage and vehicle bay area that they can still bring direct dry goods into the jail. What that does is it actually eliminates 2 motorized gates and a lot of concrete over to the other area. We were talking about what they would do is go ahead and drive through the secured sally port that exists right now. This is an enlargement of that area. So you can see what we'd be doing is relocating the building to this location, adding a little tunnel link to the existing building and cutting out opening in the wall, and just utilizing the existing paving that exists right now around that area. So the cost of that, I'll enlarge and show you here. Right now, the cost of what is currently designed in the drawings is $453,903. By making this change and relocating it to this new location, the cost goes down to $370,867. One other option that came up after this discussion was, there's a lot of benefit if we remove the entire tunnel. So this drawing shows the entire tunnel being removed. And that does a couple things. It allows the sheriff, who currently has secured parking that's all gated in this area, and it's very tight. Anytime you go there to park, when I go to meetings there, it is jam-packed. And they only have one entry in and out, so it's kind of a traffic jam too. What they're requesting is the possibility of expanding that parking. So it would be an additional 30 stalls in this area right here. And if another option would be even to add an additional 11 stalls on the side here, okay, of that parking area. One other advantage to that is currently right now, the sheriff can actually drive around the entire building except for where that tunnel in code 15 exists. By modifying this parking area and taking out that tunnel that exists right now, we could actually put real simple little drive lane there and connect, so they have quicker access and 360-degree access around the entire detention center. So I just mentioned that there was a $77,000 savings by relocating the structure. If you want to add the additional secured parking, it would be 30 stalls. The cost of that would be $156,546. And then if you additionally wanted to add the additional 11 stalls, that'd be $13,638. And then what I also prepared in this packet I put together is fees for that. We would even do soil borings to relocate the building to the other location. We also have civil landscape structural trees are impacted by that. And then us our fees also. So the total fees will be $19,900 to do the building relocation. And then if additionally you wanted to do the secured parking, and that really doesn't matter to me if it's the, 30 stalls or the additional 11 stalls added, it's really the same. That would be an additional $14,850. So if you did both, the total professional fees to move the building and obtain that savings, and also then add the parking, $34,750.
Just if you'll scroll back up just a little bit, 19.9, is that included in the 370 that you proposed if there is a savings going from 453 to 370?
It is not. So there would be a $77,000 savings, so we'll take it down to 370. Then we add the 19.9 to that.
So what's the total on that? Do you have that?
I do not, but I can do it pretty quick. So 370,867 plus 19.9. I don't know if I can do that real fast. It's around 390,767, I think. One other thing we could do too is in the documents, if you wanted us to, is we can make the additional parking area an alternate, so that when we bid it, we can see what the base bid of all that our facilities are, and then as an alternate, have that parking bid, with the hopes that that comes in on your overall project budget, or if you also put additional funds to however you want to do that. But at least you have the drawings and the design to undertake that work.
Well, by relocating, even with the fees, there's a little bit of a $60,000 saving, but you're certainly adding all that back in, plus none, or no, with the additional parking.
Sheriff, you want to tell us why this was a better location for the storage?
Well, honestly,
I already know, but you can tell me.
honestly, the reason why we looked at that was because when we were starting to talk about that, where it was originally located, is we were gonna have to put in heavy new concrete there, 8 inches thick, and it's a huge area there, so we figured, this is before they got with pencil, but I really figured, my gosh, that's the savings that we can save on concrete, move it over to the location where it's already gonna be concrete. And that was the whole gist. Again, didn't know the figures at that time or anything like that, it was just, when we started talking about that, talking about all the concrete and the 2 gates and everything that we're gonna have to do. We already got the gates over there, why don't we just move it quick? Again, didn't want it to be this much cost. The 11 additional stalls, we don't need that, and I don't need the other gate to go through that parking lot to go tab and completion. We just don't, we wouldn't utilize that much, and we still have access on the other side, so those are some things that we don't.
So that's an option, yeah, no.
Yeah, we don't. I don't think we need that gate over there on the back side of the new parking area. And we don't need those additional ones. But we do need a little extra parking over there because it should change. You've got 30 people, or you've already got 28 people in there, and you've got another 28 coming in. Until they get in, the other ones don't have a way to get out. So,
is that in the gated area?
yes, sir. That he's showing there. And again, it's just, it's one of those things, it's a safety for the officers. I don't like hearing that, but it is a safety issue for our officers. The climate that we have right now, and of course, police has not been good. We actually had some guys go to a school down south last week, and they were told to not wear any kind of signal out in public because they're being followed and they're being watched. And being targeted. It's just a little added for them. But like I said, we didn't know it was going to be this high when we decided to do that, honestly. We really were looking at the cost of that concrete and thinking, my gosh, that's what we need. Plus, the other thing is that if you go back to that picture where we originally were going to put that, it had a turnaround in there. We have trucks that come in there and they're semis. And I promise you, the first time, I told them, I said, if we left it there, the first week we'd have somebody break the gate or run into the pillar where we had the spark plugs to get in.
it is gonna be very tough.
It would be a very tight
So,
turn.
it was just, again, just trying to do some savings. We thought it was gonna save a little more than what we were actually gonna save.
So now that you know the dollar share, what are you proposing? I mean, and
Well,
there's
I'd
about
still
three
like to do,
options,
I'd
so.
still like to do the other because I think it's still gonna save you on the concrete. It is gonna make it easier to put it over there on that side where we've already got our delivery trucks coming in anyway. We don't have to have two different spots.
So you don't need the gate or 11 additional, did you figure that in a while ago?
Yeah, that is additional. We had a fee separate for that.
Okay.
We also talked, originally, we were gonna get a ramp, where the new ramp, they didn't do that, we moved it over there, we're just gonna use the talent that, and we can get that off of the trucks, use that, or the forklift, get it off the trucks, move it in there, and we can use that to the, so we wouldn't really need that ramp.
Rolling all this down, removing those, spots, what's the additional cost?
The additional cost, not doing the 11 spots, that was,
So you're saying you're still move it and then still do the additional parking, no gate and no, none of the additional, okay. I don't know how that's a person.
so the difference, I can add the fees on top of that, but we had $77,000 savings. And then we had $156,000 add, so I think we're talking around $79,000 additional for the additional parking, without the 11 stalls. And then on top of that, you have our professional fees.
So what's that total amount, like, I don't know.
Total on what?
Yeah.
Yeah, the total additional money, 79. 93, yep.
Okay.
And one thing we did too was we took the the existing motor operator for the gate, and we're reusing that. But we're changing out the gate just to a longer gate so that they have an in-out, because it's a lot of cars.
So how do we fix that, Carrie, with the additional monies that's gonna be involved? I mean, the money's already allocated for this, how do we add them on?
So we don't know for sure until we actually do the project, how much money we would have in the bonds, but we're very hopeful that it can come to pass.
Okay, okay.
Any contingency. So that's why I think, if you all choose to go forward with it, we would draw it as an alternate.
Okay.
So that you can get a bid separately, you can decide after the bids come in, if you actually want to go with the expense of the construction.
Well, I think it ought to be more than, that way. I don't know about the additional cost, but, for everything you described this morning, that's the way you do it.
Like I said, when we looked at that, I mean, it was late in the game, but we sat there and looked at it, and we were sitting there talking about all this concrete, and I'm thinking, surely we can save money by moving it over here. At this point, we're ready to scrap it all and just put it in a third building.
Well, the only exposure to the family at this point, right now, commissioner, is going to be the $14,000 for the additional design of the parking lot. Because the parking lot bill is a bit off with back it and then decide whether or not to implement it. But in the meantime, you've created the space, whether you do that parking lot as part of this project, or as part of the future project, now created the space for at least 3 additional spots, something like that.
Well, no big surprise, $21 million is a significant threshold. I would like to hear that we found the dollars somewhere else and are altering the project somehow, so, I think that's a high bar, 21 million, anything in addition, I think the court knows my
I think
opinion.
it's gonna fall within the range to be okay. Anybody wanna make a motion?
Okay.
Be okay?
Still don't have to be okay.
All right, who's back on the committee? Yeah. Are we on the 8? I make a motion that, the county page 3, modify the design for our, project.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, adoption of a prevailing wage rate. Sorry, these were out of order here.
few minutes and back me up on this, but, according to chapter 2258 of the local government code, or government code, I should say, Texas Government Code, the county is obliged to establish a prevailing wage rate. It's a little bit nebulous as to when you have to do that, but certainly for a capital project of this scope and magnitude, you need to establish some sort of rate for what the contractors will have to pay their employees, no less than, for the different trades and crafts that will be involved with during the course of this project. Now, you have two different options for doing that. You can either adopt the Davis-Bacon wage rate, or you can establish or conduct your own survey within the market area to determine what employers are paying their employees for the different types of work that would be conducted as part of this project. Now, I mean, that can be done theoretically. It's been tried by others through the course of the years. And hasn't
What would the
worked out.
cost of that be?
What's that?
What would the cost of that be?
I don't know what the cost would be, but it would be like banging your head on a wall, I suspect.
Dynamic.
Yeah. So anyway, and I believe the city of Amarillo is now adopted the Davis-Bacon wage rate as their standard as well too. I should say that several years ago, up until 20 years ago, the Association of Contractors would do a survey here of their membership to establish a local prevailing wage rate, but that was always so controversial that at the point it was not doing it. So in your agenda package today, I believe you'll find the most current wage rate for Bonner County for building projects, building construction projects, which is what this project will involve. And the recommendation is from the advisory committee is that the county consider adopting the Davis-Bacon wage rates for the purpose of the law enforcement center construction project. At some point in time, and there was no hard recommendation provided for this, but at some point in time, for the benefit of your purchasing department, the county may also want to consider developing some sort of threshold policy to when the Davis-Bacon wage rate will be triggered or activated for the project.
John, I think I know the answer to that. Just make sure that I like it, the fringes, what is that?
One of the fringes, what you're talking about this earlier this morning with health, retirement, vacation, that sort of thing.
Any more questions?
I do have a couple questions, Scott and Ted. When I read through this, I was actually surprised that this fell under the local jurisdiction of the county versus like a subcontractor, who I think would be the one negotiating these rates of what they're paying their employees. Is this typical? I mean, I've never seen anything like this, but because of course we've never done a project this size. But I was real surprised that this didn't fall under anything that regulates the general contractor or subs, anything along those lines.
We've had to adopt prevailing wage rates for our past sizable contracts. We had to do it for the courthouse project, we had to do it for Santa Fe.
Okay.
That's been the law of the government code as long as I've worked here.
And did we use this same approach?
We use Davis-Bacon.
Did we use the same Davis-Bacon? Okay.
So it is typical for
Yes.
everything that we do.
Right. When we did Santa Fe, that was about the time the agency stopped doing their own local prevailing wage survey. And so at that point, we went to Davis-Bacon because it was the available figure. But we are required, certainly for any project we're financing under Chapter 271 of the local government code, we are in this case, we have to adopt the
Because those dollars are not directly paid by the county for these wages, but I'm assuming as a part of whoever bids this project, they're rolling in this threshold.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
part and parcel of the old principle that if you do business with the government, you are expected to understand the restrictions the government's offering.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, need a motion.
I move that Potter County adopt the current prevailing wage under the Davis-Bacon Act.
I'll second.
need to include that it's for the Potter County Law Enforcement Central project, or is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I have a motion and a second, all in favor, raise your right hand.
Well, just so you know, they do have a tendency every once in a while to modify the rates, so we'll have to check just before the bid packet goes out that we are indeed using the latest and greatest. But once the bid goes out, then it's swapped into place. So if there's modifications beyond that point in time, you're not held to.
Okay, C, interlocal contract with PRPC to consider an act upon recommendation from Potter County Phase 3 Advisory Committee to enter into an interlocal cooperation agreement with the Panhandle Regional Planning Commission, PRPC, for the delivery of certain administrative services related to the Potter County Law Enforcement Center project.
Okay. So far, the planning commission, and it's been our privilege and honor, it's been participating in a limited role with this project. We're more than happy to continue doing so. During the last advisory committee meeting, it was discussed the possibility of us taking a more substantial role in providing services similar to those that we had provided during the course of the Santa Fe project, to help facilitate the activities of the various players and different departments that will be engaged in this project. So in your packet today, you'll see a draft interlocal agreement for your consideration. If you think that's going to be a benefit to the project, we always hope. Anytime that we've gotten involved with a project, particularly one of this scope and magnitude, our goal has always been to try to save the county as much as we would otherwise be paid by what our administrative services pay. That's always our goal. So the contract has been written to not to exceed $25,000 amount for the entire life of the project, through all phases of the work. More hours than that, so we'll do whatever it takes to get the job done. But again, we'll continue to participate one way or the other. It's just whatever the pleasure of the board has.
John, I think I can speak for the entire committee when I say that you are key to getting this done for us, and I appreciate everything you've done in the past on every project we've had before now, and I look forward to working with you again, and I promise you I will have coffee in the court. Every time you come, we'll make sure he has coffee. So,
Judge, where are the 25,000 coming from? Is it the bond proceeds? Okay.
where?
Where?
Judge Tanner, it's not calling me Judge Ware. Judge Tanner, where
Personally, I think this is a bargain. Even if all you did was to be our information officer for the project. We need a united voice on this project, so our citizens know what's happening and know the positives of what's happening.
I think it's inconsistent with the manual research.
Well, on behalf of the PRPC, we appreciate that. And I'm being sincere when I say it's been our privilege to participate with Potter County and some of these really cool projects. I think that benefit not only the county, but the city and the region as well. So we thank you.
I agree.
Let's go in the paperwork too.
I make a motion that we approve the recommendation from Potter County Phase 3 Advisory Committee to enter into an interlocal cooperative agreement with PRPC for the delivery of administrative services relating to the Potter County Law Enforcement Center project.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor, raise your hand. 5-0, thank you very much. John, there's two resolutions here, do you need me to sign off on those at the same time?
Yeah, if you'll sign, and I believe that is part and parcel of what's required for the interlocal. That's why I put a resolution there, and there's an accompanying resolution that will be considered by the board in this section.
Okay.
These resolutions need to vote, individual vote?
I don't, do they? I don't think they do. I mean, it's all part of the interlocal.
Yeah, it's all part of
Yeah.
it. It's just to verify, affirm, and test the agreement.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you, Larry, for everything you do. Number 12, Potter County Sheriff's Office consider and act upon the authorization for acceptance and disposition of 2 firearms conveyed from Potter County Sheriff's Office. Have some coffee. Don't say that in front of John Hill.
We had an individual present themselves in our lobby this July, give us some firearms, 2 firearms. And although we can't really use them for, personally, we would like to accept them and also trade those firearms for something we can't use. And so they did it to kind of put it off, so the process was to keep us past the first.
What kind of firearm?
One of them was a shotgun, and one of them was a pistol, the pistol's kind of unique.
What are you trading them in for?
We'd like to purchase a shotgun for a patrol unit that we could use.
Oh.
So it would be something that we would be interested in, and likely the 2 weapons that we have, actually got 3, we got a BB gun, that's and so the 2 actually worth probably enough to be something that we could outfit on our patrol units with.
Has this happened very often?
It's happened probably before, but it's obviously the first time I've been involved in it. And I just thought it would be a good idea if we take these 2 weapons and to trade them in some manner and acquire them that we could use.
On this instance, it was a family member that had passed away. The family was here from out of state, taking care of the estate. And they decided they didn't want to have the hassle of driving back with the weapons, and so they just brought them in.
I'll make a motion that we allow the disposition of these 2 firearms. Sure. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand.
Thank you.
Number 13, Potter County owned property to consider and respond to inquiries regarding availability for purchase of county-owned vacant lots at 901 and 957 Jackson.
That's just me looking for guidance and how to respond to people that are calling me wanting to conceptually purchase those lots, whether they're for sale.
I know, are they for sale? Mine, did you?
Everything's for sale.
Did you want to keep those lots or something? Was there something that you had talked to me about earlier on that you wanted to hang on to them or not?
Sell.
Sell them?
They're talking about paying 20 million.
20? Let's sell it. Sell it. Yeah.
You're strong.
I like the condition. No, I don't know the prices, but conceptually, if the court is interested in selling those, then we can bring it to next meeting as to how we want to do it.
Exactly. Matt, do you have any idea what the property's worth?
I do not.
Okay, all right. All right, so let's just bring that back in 2 weeks.
I can tell.
In the meantime, okay.
Yes, but conceptually, it's we're doing it.
Could we use any of the new, storage space at the sheriff's, center to move some of that over?
There's nothing there.
No, these are vacant. These are vacant.
Oh, these are the vacant, these aren't the ones on 6th Street, I'm thinking of those are,
These are just a.
We have had more than one party inquire about it.
Yeah, and this one guy wants to build some kind of little, tiny little food thing.
Yeah.
I need to probably drive by my only hesitancy as I look at this address is this is downtown property that is escalating quickly.
So we should add 21 million.
If you do, that makes some sense, certainly for our taxpayers, but I think Commissioner Church may have brought at one point, I can't remember if it was these properties. I think we have to be very cautious of when we sell those, that prices are escalating downtown, so we do need to be business savvy if we would hold on to it if it was our property individually.
We can sell them at public auction or sealed bid or through a broker.
Yeah, and I think I'm advocating for, as these prices continue to escalate, to hold them as you would your own property, if you owned anything in this sphere of downtown, and make a smart business move for the taxpayers in this county. And only as it's related to this Jackson property. That's why I had a mental note of the 6th Street property.
This is something else.
Yeah.
What's the
Okay.
holding doesn't own?
What's that 903?
Yeah, but it can in this
And,
scenario.
Good question.
And right now, We have property sitting in the county.
But I do know there are
ownership
two
that's
power
not-
properties vacant lots.
That's not generating any tax dollars, and if we're concerned about saving money or increasing our revenues, we have to
Do
consider.
you know any of the individuals interested in this property, Commissioner Church?
I've heard rumors,
Okay,
but that's, you just don't.
What's that 903? Anybody know?
I don't,
There's a 901 and 905.
what's in the middle of them? Do you know?
What's
There's a
it?
building, I think, in the middle. I just got a Google.
There's a building in the middle?
We will take it out.
There's not a 903. Oh, okay.
I don't know, I wouldn't sell anything I owned, I'll just say that on a very personal level, so I can't imagine we would do that for the property, the tax owners.
Okay, well, let's look into it, we'll bring it back. I'm gonna skip over mine, we're gonna discuss your budget in just a second, and also your county projects, I'm gonna skip on the employment items, consider and act upon those. Road and Bridge to accept employment of Jesse Martinez as a replacement for Alex Hansen as a summer mower effective July 2016, and to accept the discharge of Eugene Green as summer mower maintenance effective July 21st, 2016.
I move we approve the employment items as presented.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Joe report. Oh, I'm sorry, did you? I must assume you did. Okay. Number 17, Joe report.
Was that a yes?
You did say yes.
I can cruise myself.
You abstain.
Thank you. That's okay.
401. Okay. Joe report, we have 491 individuals in our jail, 72 are female. We have 0 in children's, 83% are felons, 10% are misdemeanors. Any insurance items, ma'am? No insurance items? No executive session. Okay, we're gonna go back to Mike, you were on vacation. We discussed your budget and cut everything you had, so.
That's what I heard.
No. I'm kidding. So if you want to step Assuming you had a nice vacation.
We had a great.
Okay, good. So according to your project request right here,
Yes.
you put your proposals as priority, 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? We went along with a couple of those. Carrie, did we put this pickup in there? It is in there, okay. So we're gonna give you the pickup, in my opinion, we haven't voted on it yet. And then we discussed the auditorium lighting, and the auditorium at San Bay, so that was a lot to, it could go down any second.
The auditorium lighting.
You want to move that to priority 1, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So,
4, priority 1.
Now you got 3 priority ones.
Karen, are you showing anything on the screen on the Capitol or anything?
I don't have much projects.
And, the auditorium lighting, at any moment, we could lose those. House 17 years old.
okay, so I think that we had decided to allow that, as a fire detection system also, so that we can decided.
Here's what I'd like to do, for I've been with Terry this, whether this goes down today, if it goes down 5 months from now. Last thing we have places, what to do is, the funds out of this current, budget year, the elevators that we're not expending because we're in a mod project, I believe it was
$56,000 or so around there, is utilizing that money to go ahead and do that. That's what we discussed.
Okay, that you currently,
Out
that's
of
on.
the current budget.
At 32,302.
Carry on that fire detection, go ahead and do it and take it out that, elevator.
Okay, so that leaves the, number one priority as the building automation system upgrade.
Yes.
What is that exactly?
Your building automation, this is the, what we utilize to operate and control all the HVAC with the district courts, the Santa Fe building, the county courthouse. Eventually, we will have the automation system, we'll have a new automation system out at the detention center, law enforcement center. Right now, our global control module units for the Santa Fe building, I think are 16 years old. About 4 years ago, I presented to the court to go through and do an upgrade on that. Was not able to. We're at a point right now in the building automation. It's old. It's not a new system. It's taking the current system there and modifying it with modern technology.
We left that in, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I thought. Okay, so Mike, if we cut the auditorium repairs, the painting, the ceiling,
It's just gonna be where it is and it's been like that for the last.
okay, and then exterior window replacement,
You just got cracked glass and all that.
okay, so we can cut that for now. And then the Santa Fe terracotta unit currently, that's funded already, so it's already in the process of being done. The neon light, we're not doing for now. Landscaping at county extension.
We're gonna take that money, I talked to Nick this morning, what funds we have left within our building repair account, for that building out there, we'll utilize that.
Okay.
You can move that.
Okay. And then the environmental cleanup at the road and bridge.
I highly recommend y'all do this. Here's the issue out there. Years ago, we looked at taking the old precinct building out there, the metal building, for which is basically falling in. You have a very small portion of it that had asbestos within it. At the time when we were originally going to remove it, the cost was a lot cheaper. Now, due to the rain, snow, and everything getting on it, it's just putting it on the ground. Now you're decontaminating the ground. It's only going to continue to get worse. So, out there, if you could, I would highly recommend to get this building remediated, get it cleaned up, go ahead and get that building.
Is that figure 13,007?
13,700 is the environmental side, 5,500 is the electrical, number that we received. So you've got a total of $19,200 for once and all, just to clean this side. 5,500, I believe Sebastian William had obtained that, that was for the electrical, that's attached to the building for the fuel pumps, it needs to be detached.
So Mike, for the 19, are you suggesting all of this work as well as knocking that building down? Or just
The
finishing
building,
off?
after you're finished with it, it's metal, it's clean, you can haul it to a landfill, how, whatever they want to do.
And is that included in this price?
No.
So by taking that 32,000 out for the fire detection and out of this year's budget, is that what did you say that that would fall into the same lines as what we've done so far? So that wouldn't change the outcome of this budget too much, huh, Carrie? Okay. Is there anything else you would?
I had uniforms on.
Yeah, we talked about that last week. So we discussed that at length, actually, that it went up quite a bit, right? It's because you guys, no one liked them, the ones you had before.
Well, that ain't exactly true. The uniforms that we had before, some of the employees did not like the way they fit. We did not have much of a selection, high uniforms with the previous company. So the employees chose not to wear them. And one thing I did years ago, when I came to work here at Parker, this department was automatically started. We wore green Tiki brand pants, blue shirts, our coveralls that were inmate, we back up. Anything we can do is change that image, and that's what we try to do through the years, is to make our employees feel better about the way they're supposed to do, it makes them feel good. So because that's presented to you today, our previous company that we had, the other two companies here, they had issues with, basically we was, so y'all know, we had to go with the new contract, which is actually better for us, and we get a better service.
Harry, can you scroll down a little more on the line items? I'm just making sure I don't have any other questions for you. Thank you very much.
In line with the budget, Sheriff, is there anything that you wanted to say this meeting before I have my final say?
We wanted to add some more stuff. You can take the two hands on.
Okay.
So Harry,
I didn't see the vans in there, and I thought, I wonder what happened to those vans?
okay. I wanna make a statement. I worried and thought about this all weekend long, especially after I saw that the insurance was going up. So, I told you last week, I did not want to increase taxes. But after all is said and done, I truly believe that the court cut what was necessary, and we left what is vital for the effective functioning of the county, specifically making sure that the citizens of this county are adequately protected from fire, crime, and that the county roads are being properly maintained, as well as all other offices that serve the public. I want to commend every elected official and department head for their honesty, efficiency, and loyalty to the people and the taxpayers of this county, in addition to their staff. Balancing the budget is an extremely hard and difficult job, and I, for one, don't particularly like to do it. However, it is much a part of the process of everyday living as your own personal budget. So I have something I want to share. I've used this in a speech twice this year, and I think it applies to all of us. It's called leaders. Leaders are called to stand in that lonely place between the no longer and the not yet, and intentionally make decisions that will bind, forge, move, and create history. We are not called to be popular. We are not called to be safe. We are not called to follow. We are the ones called to take risks. We are the ones called to change attitudes, to risk displeasure. We are the ones called to gamble our lives for a better world. I'm not only referring to the five of us up here, I'm referring to all of you out there. You know who you are, you know that you are a leader, and you know that you do the right thing when you come to work every day through your employees. And I want to say, try coming to work one day and your employees not show up. Where would you be without the employees? So, as you know, insurance is going up. Offering insurance is a benefit that we take pride in offering our employees. As a matter of fact, I came back to work 22 years ago in the county because of the benefits. But because of this rate increase in insurance, without a salary increase, as small as it may be, all of our take-home pay will go down. Last thing I want to see is for our employees to open their check on October 15th and see it less than it was September 30th. That's a real morale killer. So here's what I propose. I propose that we keep the same tax rate as the current year. This will be a slight increase for a little over 29% of the taxpayers in this county. It will be, it actually will go down for 7% of the people. And it will not change for 63%, is that right, Carrie? 63% will see no change at all. So we're only talking about 29%, and it will go up on an average home, which the average home nowadays is $92,000. $18.16 a year, $1.51 a month. For a $100,000 home, it will go up to $19.52 a year, $1.63 a month. So I propose a 2% pay raise across the board for everybody, because this tax rate will bring in an additional $1.4 million in new property and increased values. That's what I have to say. What do you think?
Can we see those taxing figures?
I think besides Commissioner Church, I'm the only one on the court that was an employee first. So I feel the need to make sure the employee gets compensated correctly.
And our rate last year was 0.66, what? Exactly the same. How much?
As opposed to the 800,000.
And so that puts us in the positive where.
Any discussion?
I just want to say that I agree with your remarks, and that the employees are who our people see. Very few people see us. If it wasn't for our employees, our county wouldn't function right to provide the services we do. Love to give the 2%, and that's what the court pushes, as long as we're not raising taxes.
But Carrie, what is the increase over the effective rate? Just want to make sure I have that correct from my notes.
The increase of the effective would be 3.23%.
3.23.
3.23.
3.23. As the judge pointed out, we did get a report from Pratt, and that would affect less than 30% of our homeowners.
And help me understand how that would affect less than 30. Are they looking at exemptions? Is that, how are they computing that? Do you know?
Increase in property value.
Okay.
Not only 30% have an increase in property value.
Unless you're over 65. I think a lot of people get confused about what an effective tax rate is versus an actual tax rate. The effective tax rate is the rate at which taxes bring in the same amount of money that we brought in last year. So because of increased property values, new building, that rate is lower. And so we're gonna pay the same actual taxes if we go with this as we pay last year.
Judge, the only thing I'd add is that certainly since I've been a commissioner, we have given cost of living increases to the employees. So I feel like we as a board have continued to do right by the employees.
Oh, I didn't say we weren't.
No,
I'm just saying
yeah,
this
that's what I'm
particular
saying.
year when insurance is going up, we've got to help. So even with the county absorbing most of the costs, there's tax, their check will still come in.
I applaud your statement coming out and putting yourself in that position on the fine line. But I would say also that since I've been I've advocated for the employees too, people basically created the five ways that we could continue to do the least code. So I stand with the judge.
Thank you. Also, Carrie, we were gonna try to figure out the inflation rate that we are obviously not keeping up with. I mean, if you look back at the rate of increases over the years, we're not keeping up with the inflation rate. So I think that we're in pretty good shape if we can do that without passing taxes every year. or substantial more than what we've done so far.
And according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, inflation is 1.5%. At that same, during that same time frame, our tax increases by 10.72%. So we're well below.
Way below. Way below.
That's like every year, up 10%, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Wages.
According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, inflation has gone up 19.56%, but our tax rate has gone up 10.72%.
So we can take action today on the final budget, can we not? I mean, on the, we do, okay, you have something to say, I can tell you, stand up twice.
We required you today to meet all the timelines. I mean, this certainly changed. I wasn't expecting this morning. I would like to discern and think a little if we're not tied to an action today. But I'll lean on Carrie.
Yes, ma'am. Because of our payroll schedule change, the first full payroll of the next fiscal year starts on October 8th. And I wanted to ask this court if it might be possible to make that rate increase effective on October 8th. That would eliminate a massive amount of manual adjustment for payroll.
You got it. So do we vote on this today or not?
Well, before you sit down, Kate, is there a specific window of time that you need to first have that in place before you enact that?
Well, we would have to have the information and have everything in place by on the 8th to begin processing that. It wouldn't be paid until the 15th. Or it wouldn't be paid until the last pay period of the month. I'm sorry, I misspoke. But the first full pay period of paid time for the fiscal year begins on the 8th.
Commissioner's question.
As you can see by the calendar, we do need to get some notices published, and we do have to stagger our time. But the way we have it scheduled now, the final approval we have for September 19th, that could be put off a little bit until the 26th. Of course, that just makes it harder on the tax office to get their numbers together.
We can proceed. It's just a question.
Can we be selective on which employees get the raise?
We have enough time for that.
A few.
Too much power already, Commissioner.
I vote no for HR.
Department or person?
Carrie, just to confirm, this is only a COLA for employees, not the retirees, which we can talk about.
I would like to include the retirees, those are people that have put in a lot of years.
Cross the numbers and see where we are again.
Well, I think they should be.
Well, that's gonna be.
Courts are doing it, Gary? Do we know the courts are doing it?
I thought we attached the employees to all of these raises at one time, at one of our meetings.
Well, the retirees can only get raises every third year or second?
For our plan, every third year.
Every third year.
Okay, well, this is
So
the
this is the third year?
This is the third year, but what we need to keep in mind, our rate continues to increase because when you do the retiree increase, and I don't have the number right here with me, but it's about $2 million over the lifespan, and we're financing one on top of the other, so we're building that debt and increasing our unfunded liability. I would like to give you some numbers on that if you are considering that. They even allow a COLA this year. I think TCDR estimated allowed a COLA last year because we did not go there.
Right, I believe they are this year, but I.
they interested in keeping the retirees?
It's not anything personal, it's just that we're trying to keep this as low as we can this year, and I mean, I can't speak for next year, and no one knows what next year's gonna bring.
Well, I'd like to take a vote on it.
Can we look at the numbers that? Who's the retirees?
Should.
I don't know, I'll log into my website, I'm sorry.
So that we can't take action today, so that means that we're.
Or if y'all wanted to recess for 30 minutes.
How fixed are you as a commissioner, and hold up past that?
Well, she can look them up here. We'll recess. I'd like to see that and maybe come back with some numbers.
Okay, and how much time do you need, Carrie? You have to go all the way to the Santa Fe building to?
Well, if I can pull it up here, it won't take me just a
Okay.
few minutes, maybe.
All right, let's have 10. Okay, it's 15-minute recess. What you find out?
The maximum across the board increase that we can give our retirees is 1%. That's the maximum they will allow this year. To do that, our rate would go up from 14.33 to 14.55. And I believe that was about $38,000.
38,000.
Or you could look at giving a CPI increase. And what that does is that gives your retirees who've been retired for a longer period of time more of an adjustment on the lost buying power due to inflation. So those who've been retired before will receive a larger increase.
What's the years on that? Like how long they have to be retired before this?
They have to be retired for here as of January 1st of 2019. So if anyone who retired in 16 would not see any.
Well, what about with the longer tenured employees, the CPI adjustment that you're talking about?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking, the CPI.
Well, it doesn't matter how long they've been employed, it matters how long they've been retired.
Yeah.
So it goes back.
Okay.
So it costs.
So it just starts last year, 2015?
Right, so if inflation was, say, 1%, inflation was 1% for the last 15 years, someone who retired 15 years ago, 40% of that 15% inflation. I don't know a better way to
You lost me at hello. I'm sorry. Okay, so.
I guess the bottom line is the CPI increase is more beneficial for those who have been retired for a longer period of time, but they're also the ones that have lost buying power with their retirement because of inflation.
Right. Okay.
So you're suggesting with a 1%?
Well, the cost is about the same, but you go 1% across the board to everyone, or you can do a 40% CPI for everyone.
And how would that affect the dollars against the? And I don't think we're seeing anything on the screen that you're ready to share.
With that change, you would still be $155,000 to the good on this budget.
Can we see the aggregate with the rate?
This one?
Yes. And that's keeping it at the 0.66402?
Correct.
So that increased taxes at all?
Not for your proposal today.
So, Commissioner Commissioner Elliott's.
My recommendation would be that we adopt the CPI increase. Thank you.
Have we ever done that before, Sharon?
We have done one, it's been quite a lot of years ago, but yes, we did it.
I'll make that as a motion.
What do you wanna make, you wanna do the whole motion instead of just that, and make the whole motion, the 2%?
I was making a motion that we adopt the CPI increase of 40% for the retirees. That all you need on that, or do you need more?
We need to talk about our budget too, I mean, theirs, we do at the same time. We don't have any other motion on. Yeah, you don't have any other motion on the actual budget itself, as far as.
Oh, that motion, I don't
Withdraw the motion for now? Okay.
I just don't know if we've ever, you know how we have a limitation on every 3 years, we talk about that. Does that also apply when it's a CPI increase versus the 1% across the board? Okay. And that really gives a benefit to those that have been retiring longer in the pool versus everybody just getting a 1% when they have 1 year into the retirement category.
Well, people that retired last year are not up for an increase already. Right?
Looking at the 1% they would get, but it's.
You didn't only get it for every 3 years.
I said 1 year, well, when they can retire that 1 year. Is that basically what we're doing?
So I want to make a motion on the entire budget. I'll make a motion that we approve the budget 2016, 2017, including a 2% across the board raise for all employees. And the, what'd you call it?
The CPI increase for
The CPI increase
our retirees.
for the 40% for the retirees.
It's 40% of what figure it is. What figure it is.
With that motion, the rate remains the same.
Yes.
Okay, my motion, I need, yes, I do now. So that's my motion, I need a second.
I'm sorry, Judge. Kate standing up, that the.
Kate standing up again.
Just that reminded me to make the increase effective 10.
Yes, October 8th. Yes, thank you. You want to read that back, Julie?
Oh, sure. Here we go. Motion to approve the 2017 budget, which would include a 2% across the board for all employees and the CPI increase of 40% for retirees, with the increase being effective of October 8th, 2016.
And is that increase for retirees also October 8th? Is that what you're advocating for?
For January.
For January, okay.
So the retirees will be January 1st, okay. All right.
Just add that to my motion.
Sure.
I second. For
We have a
discussion.
motion and a second for discussion. Yes, sir.
But it's on the group.
Oh, okay, you just opened it up. You don't have anything to say.
Mr. Kelly, you okay with that?
Yes.
The rate remains the same. It can.
It will. Taking 200, I didn't mention we're taking 200,000 out of the INS. Is that part of the motion or no?
Well, that's included.
Okay.
Now, we're not actually approving the budget, we're approving the proposal. Is that
I think this could be the actual.
right? We have to have public
We have to have
hearing.
public hearing on final
Hearing, but we
option,
can
but
actually-
22nd.
You know,
That's when you will finally adopt the budget.
right, this is, we're approving the.
You're approving the proposed budget.
Proposed budget, yes.
And
Carrie,
Would you like to amend your?
Let me amend
your
that.
motion
I
to
make a motion, we
approve
approve
the proposed budget?
proposed budget, 2016-2017 fiscal year, allowing 2% pay increase across the board, and effective 10/8/2016, and allowing a CPI increase of 40% returns, effective January 1.
Commissioner Bond. Carrie, the one thing that we didn't get to see, but we talked about it on the line item, when Judge Sermon advocated to separate out the visiting judges, so that we have a little more control on the budget via the line item. Did that happen? I just want to make sure it did.
It did.
Okay, I knew we talked about it, but.
Alfonso, I'll need you to second that motion again, sorry.
Can we do that motion? Second.
And then I do have another question, Judge, just as we're making that.
Oh, looking for that. Oh, no, yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then my other question is, as it relates to, you had that grid up there of the increases, how we normally separate it out. Does that include or exclude the state employees?
It excludes any state supplements.
State supplements, that's, yes,
Right,
okay,
state
state supplements, okay.
Yes, yes.
Let me ask one question. The proposed 2% increase for employees, does that also include what the courts are going to be, the increase of salaries for employees?
The district.
I don't know what they will do, but I can tell you what I requested is whatever the commissioners court gives to the county employees is what I heard. I requested to my.
And that's typically what they do.
It is, but we don't know until they vote on it, but I know that was my request.
So we'll have that before we go to the final budget.
Right, we'll have that on Thursday.
Okay, you have a question? Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the proposed budget. All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is that all we need to do today, everybody? I think that's all we need to do today. So our next meeting, to talk about this, Carrie, is when's the next meeting? No, but don't we have one at the meeting now again? More jobs. We have to, let's address, I'm sorry. Let's address this one issue on the vouchers real fast.
And it's on the budget.
Oh, yes, I do. It was on the vouchers.
Yeah.
More jobs. The budget amendment shows that you went over your, yeah. Now, how do we propose to fix that? What account would you like that to come from?
From publications. Okay. I have quite a bit in there. I didn't buy any this month until next year, when I'm gonna need it, when I go to company hospital school, and it's just too late.
Yeah, how much did you have in here? She's got it.
In that account for subscription and publication, there was 1,200.
Okay, so you have plenty to cover that then?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay, so Gary, can we transfer those funds out to cover that? Okay.
And then
Georgia, just as it relates to the incoming budget, anytime going over, I mean, was this an unforeseen thing that just, you weren't paying attention to the budget, the budgeted amount, or kind of what happened that took us over budget?
For Austin, they missed on my reservation, and at first I had to charge full amount. If I was already almost there. That was the cost, and, per diem, checks, I was not clear how that worked until afterwards. So it was a learning experience, and then also, not having as much funds needed for these two schools. But, I also went to West Texas JCPA, which I paid out of pocket. They covered, it was really not that expensive, but San Antonio is what killed me on that whole, on that budget count.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for coming in and explaining that. Yes.
I make a motion on item 2, budget amendments, that we approve the transfer for Constable 2 to cover travel expenses from 725 to 726, and the amount to come from the line item publications and subscriptions.
Second.
Okay, have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, thanks, Georgia. Thanks, everybody. We are adjourned.